Hey, do you know what nano means? Small, very small. It is a million times smaller than the smallest measure on a ruler. If you want to get an idea on how small a nanometer really is, you will need to take a piece of hair from your head. Go on, it won't hurt. Got it. Now, take a good close. Look at that strand of hair. Not much to look at, is it? If we were to shrink you down, smaller than the smallest thing you can see with the naked eye, you will find that piece of hair starts to look a lot more interesting. You are now about the size of a red blood cell. Your strand of hair is a massive tree compared to you. Even at this size, you're still about 1,000 times too big to be considered nano. To get you down to the nanoscale, we will have to shrink you to about 100 nanometers tall.
Hey, where are the lights? You are now smaller than the wavelength of the visible light. You are practically invisible. But for the sake of demonstration, I think we should turn on some lights. At this size, the red blood cell is 1,000 times bigger than you are. It is like an enormous stadium. Welcome to the nanoscale. You can probably hold the common cold virus in your hands quite comfortably now. The rhinovirus is only about 30 nanometers across and it's nearly impossible to see next to the red blood cell. A red blood cell is too big to consider nano. However, it is made up of all kinds of nanomaterials. If you were to look close enough, you would see that the outer wall of the cell are
Stabilized by a flexible mesh-like protein skeleton, the bars and connectors that make up this mesh are considered part of nanomaterial. Without reinforcing nanostructures, the cell would be much more fragile and not nearly as flexible. It wouldn't stand a chance in your body. Everything is made up of nanomaterials, or an arrangement of molecules and atoms that when combined create stable building blocks that can be made into larger, more complex materials and structures, which is pretty much everything, including this little piece of hair. I bet you didn't think there was so much going on in such a small amount of space.
Now that we are entering a new era of medical nanotechnology, scientists need to make sure treatments are not only effective but secure. Many experimental treatments are, after all, electronic medical devices, just on a smaller scale. These tiny devices are typically controlled by a program on a traditional electronic device like a computer, smartphone, or server, meaning they could be very hackable. Some digital security experts posit that a single nanoparticle in the body with its own processor could be hacked. But they also say that if someone had more than one particle in the body, which many treatments would require, a hacker could theoretically turn them into a network in the body using the body's own system to communicate and do their bidding. It might sound like nanotechnology hacking will happen far into the future, but some experts believe some experimental nanotechnology medical treatments will be in use in just 2 years. Additionally, medical technology already in use today has already been proven hackable. Johnson & Johnson advised users of one of its insulin pumps to not use the remote control feature of the device and to make sure to set a maximum insulin dose in case of hacking. Recently, the FDA recalled 500,000 pacemakers due to the risk of hacking. In 2015, researchers were able to hack into and deactivate a pacemaker set up on a mannequin. Proving this are much more than fears. They are an inevitable reality. But whenever we have problems, we will always have a solution.
And now that we have known what is nanotechnology all about, it is time for us to know its benefits, potential risks, and its possible solutions.
Numerous prospective benefits for health and environment are offered by nanotechnology, with engineered nanomaterials being developed for renewable energy capture and battery storage, water purification, food packaging, environmental sensors and remediation, as well as a greener engineering and manufacturing processes. Some example of the latter including a highly efficient, low-energy lighting source and smart clothing including a layer of piezoelectric crystals in a nanomaterials for powering the wearer's electronic devices.
But on the other hand, in reality, a one-size-fits-all approach to evaluating the potential risks and benefits of nanotechnology for human health is not possible because it is both impractical and would be misguided. There are many types of engineered nanomaterials and not all are alike or potential hazards. Many factors should be considered when evaluating the potential risks associated with an engineered nanomaterial, and these are namely the likelihood of being exposed to nanoparticles that may be shed by the nanomaterial, identifying who or what may be exposed, the eventual fate of the shed nanoparticles, and whether there is a likelihood of adverse biological effects arising from these exposure scenarios.
In order for these risks to be prevented, the most powerful thing that needs to happen to lessen the risk of hacking with nanotechnology is legislation to regulate the types and strength of security required on nanomedical devices, and even the function of devices that will be allowed. Medical device manufacturers who wish to ensure that their devices are not likely to get hacked should do proper penetration testing. This type of testing exposes and evaluates the risk of hacking and increases the safety of medical devices and the programs or applications that accompany them. It may be uncomfortable to expose the vulnerabilities in your medical products, but that is the first step towards fixing any vulnerabilities.
Now that we are entering a new era of medical nanotechnology, scientists need to make sure that treatments are not only effective but secure. Many experimental treatments are, after all, electronic medical devices just on a smaller scale. These tiny devices are typically controlled by a program on a traditional electronic device just like a computer, smartphone, or server, meaning they could be very hackable.
Some digital security experts posit that even a single nanoparticle in the body with its own processor could be hacked, which basically means that a lot of them in the body could be a big problem in the future. But they can also prevent this by securing and strictly monitoring the intake or the possible amount of nanoparticles in our body. Nanotechnology already has a lot of positive attributes that are very useful to us humans. With the proper and reliable knowledge about this newly discovered way of enhancing our lives, anything good could be possible.
Together as one society,
Hand by hand.
Let's improve.
And enhance
Our modern technologies.
But never destroy
Our sanity.